Just got 8 minutes past 7. You are listening to Sabahul Muslim on Radio Islam International. Salamun ya Umar al-Faruq. Greetings, salutations to the great Sahabi, the great leader, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu an. We know that even Orientalist writers, they opine that the world needs an Umar, the justice of Umar, the foresight of Umar, the insight of Umar. They make reference to an incident there where high-profile ambassadors had come to see Umar radiallahu an, and when they asked where he is upon reaching Medina Munawwara, someone pointed to a tree, and he was sleeping alone, no bodyguards, no formalities, no protocols, just sleeping under the tree. And that's when they said that adalta fa aminta fa nimta, that because you are just, then there's peace and security, and because there's peace and security, you can sleep like that under the tree, as the leader, without any fear that you could be compromised. Subhanallah. So that was Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu an. Thought just came to my mind as I was hearing that nasheed. The question we are asking you this morning: are you of the opinion that activists are starting to go through too far? I gave you a few examples. Climate activists threw mashed potatoes at a painting worth $110 million in Germany. They were protesting about fossil fuel extraction. The painting didn't get damaged because it was in a glass enclosure, but the fact that they went and actually threw mashed potatoes. Why mashed potatoes? I don't know. Why waste food when so many people are hungry? Then there was the incident of protesters hurling tomato soup at Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers. Then yesterday, you had the incident where they went and put they put the custard pie, they smashed custard pie into the wax statue of King Charles at Madame Tussauds in London. Now, as Muslims, we know you don't waste food, no matter what your objective. And we don't give any significance really to these paintings and to these statues and that kind of thing. But the question here is not about that. The question here is about whether activists are going too far these days. They would claim, and to some extent I can understand that, they would say nowadays to get the attention of politicians, to get the attention of the media, you've got to do drastic things. But then where do you draw the line? Remember the poo protesters here in South Africa throwing feces? Then people start to get violent. They start to burn things. You say, well, what are you doing? You're burning libraries and you're burning schools. They say, that's the only way we can get attention. No one else pays attention. If a couple of libraries or schools have to be sacrificed for the greater good, that's their argument, then so be it. Of course, from our perspective, we say, but you know what? You got a shortage as it is. You're only making the situation worse. You're going to end up suffering the consequences. Is activism sometimes going a bit too far in the manner in which it is expressed? That's the question that I'm asking this morning. You can WhatsApp us on 072 786 1548, or you can email smr@radioislam.co.za. That's smr@radioislam.co.za. The question is also up on both the Facebook and Twitter pages. So Rishi Sunak is now going to become the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. I think Liz Truss will officially hand a resignation to King Charles sometimes today. He may then immediately go and meet the king, who will ask him, these are all the formalities to form a government. It may happen today, it may happen tomorrow. Just think about it, how life works sometimes. A couple of weeks ago, he lost the race to Liz Truss. He must have thought that's it, because she'll probably see it out for this term. The Conservatives are not likely to win the next election as things stand. And I'll be in politics and I'll be a backbencher as long as she's there, and then we'll be in opposition. Or 3 weeks later, he's now the prime minister. Those memes are funny because he's of Indian descent. He's a Hindu. They have a picture of the outside of 10 Downing Street, the black door, and you see all chimples, the sandals that Indians normally wear, kind of Indian style, outside the door. Some say it's significant that a man of color has become the prime minister in the UK for the first time. Things don't change significantly, though, even if a person of color comes into the highest office. We saw that in America when Barack Obama was there for 8 years. People can come in with good intentions, or people can come from minority groupings. The system is the system, right? But nonetheless, the fact that an Indian man made it Remember, the members of the Conservative Party didn't vote for him. They voted 57% for Liz Truss. He only got 43%. This time around, it didn't go to the members because there was only one candidate in the end. The Boris Johnson and the other lady pulled out. So it's just the MPs who chose him to be the leader of the party. And since this is the ruling party, he now becomes the prime minister. And that's a big gripe also that many have, that a handful of MPs, 300 odd MPs, have decided who's going to be the prime minister of the United Kingdom. It's not as simplistic as that. I mean, the voters decided which party to put in. So it's like with the ANC. When they recall a president, it's that 70, 80 odd who's on the NEC. They decide to recall a president, or what's something over 100 or something. That small group decide to recall a president, and they decide to send somebody else in his place. We saw it with Thabo Mbeki and Kgalema Motlanthe going in his place, Zuma being recalled, and Ramaphosa going in his place. So that's what a group of people decide once you've put a party into power. Politics works like that. It works like that. Yeah, it's just gone 7:15. Coming up in a bit, we've got our hadith for the morning. Then we speak to a spokesperson for Transport Minister Fikile Mbalula. He said that the SIU has identified the drivers of corruption in the transport sector. After 7:30, Maulana Waja with the words competition. We continue with the tafsir of Surah Banu Israel. We talk about the ears and eyes in particular in reference to the verse which tells us not to talk about that which we have no knowledge of. 7:45, Tembisa Fakude joins us on the line for the Africa Report. After 8, Peter Morgan will talk to us about liquefied fuels and the association warning, the Liquefied Fuels Wholesalers Association warning of fuel shedding. We continue our discussion on matrics and exams. And towards the end of the program, we are scheduled to speak to well-known professor and political analyst Stephen Friedman about whether Ramaphosa can actually face impeachment over Pala Pala before the elective conference. So that's what you can look forward to between now and 9 o'clock on Sabahul Muslim, inshallah. Just gone 16 minutes past 7, time for this morning's hadith.
Hadith discussions on Sabahul Muslim with Maulana Sulaimaan Ravat.
عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت: دخلت علي امرأة ومعها ابنتان لها تسأل فلم تجد عندي شيئا غير تمرة واحدة فأعطيتها إياها فقسمتها بين ابنتيها ولم تأكل منها ثم قامت فخرجت فدخل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم علينا فأخبرته فقال: من ابتلي من هذه البنات بشيء فأحسن إليهن كن له سترا من النار. متفق عليه. Aisha radiallahu anha narrates, a woman together with her 2 daughters came begging to me, but I had nothing with me except one date, which I gave to her. She divided it between her 2 daughters and did not eat from it. She then stood up and left. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then entered, and I told him what happened. He said, whoever is put through any tribulation as a result of his daughters and treats them well, there shall be a barrier for him from the hellfire. So firstly, here we see Aisha radiallahu anha gave her one date. That's all that she had. Subhanallah. In the house of the leader of all leaders, there was only one date to give the beggar. But she did not hold back and say, well, what's the point of giving her one date? It's her and her 2 daughters. She remembered the words of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam that don't turn away a beggar empty-handed, even if it's just one date. Imam Qurtubi says, on the second point, that even if you care for one daughter, Allah will save you from the hellfire. This woman, she must have been hungry herself, but there was only one date, so she gave half and half to each daughter, and she didn't take anything, and she continued. However, if you look after 2 daughters, then the barrier will be greater, and you will enjoy greater proximity to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this flows from the hadith that we discussed yesterday, when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when you look after your daughters, 2 daughters he mentioned, and you and I will be like this, and he brought his fingers closer together, meaning you will enjoy close proximity to me on the day of Qiyamah. We should keep this in mind, that looking after 1 daughter, 2 daughters, or like we discussed yesterday, even the other women folk, your sisters, your mother, your aunts, look after them, and Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala will grant you barakah. 18 minutes past 7. بديع الزمان وأبدر الظلام